Hello, I am Fernanda Paiva, hitchhiking stars and bringing you insights about the lunar cycles. So let's talk about the first full moon of 2024. So very exciting. Our first full moon will be happening on the 25th of January 2024. So this full moon will be happening at 5 degrees Leo and hopefully a very, very bright one. But there are some very interesting aspects, complex aspects as well that I really want to share with you so you make the most of the energy of this full moon. As usual, full moons are about culminations, showing us something, revealing something. It's like we cannot ignore it anymore. It becomes very obvious. So there's something about a revelation that will be happening around this full moon. But also, let's have a look at this degree. So before we get into the details of the chart of this full moon and what has been happening, what are the other aspects and what are the other configurations, let's have a look at the Sabian symbol for the 5th degree of Leo. So you ready there? So the imagery for 5 degrees Leo is an old-fashioned conservative woman is confronted by an up-to-date girl. So here we have a battle of generations, right? And for anyone that's getting a little older, you realize that's something very real. The battle of the generations and the dualities between generations, how we change our perspective over time and how we become a little bit more conservative as we get older, or so it seems. But that's not really what I want to talk about. I digress a little bit. So this idea of the old-fashioned conservative woman and the up-to-date girl is really talking about confrontation and dualities here. So this full moon could be really bringing up and full moons in general, they are in opposition, right? The sun is opposing the moon, or the moon is opposing the sun. And this does represent a sense of duality or split, two ends of the, two sides of a coin and etc. So there is definitely a sense of duality in general anyways with the full moon. But with this specific degree, I think this energy might be even more under the spotlight here with this full moon. When we think about Aquarius and Leo, the duality that they're both presenting is, how can I be a useful member or an active member of a group? How can I be part of a group and contribute in a silent way here as part of the group and bring my individuality into the picture? So in other words, how can I be an individual with special gifts within the group? So this is the duality. This is one of the main keys that I always think about when I think about Aquarius and Leo. Aquarians don't necessarily feel special, and they fight for the people and the rights of the people and the groups, and the group mentality is very present when we think about Aquarius. But Leo is all about the individual. What I've done, how I've created this, and how this is unique to me. And in that way, a healthy Leo also recognizes and embraces the uniqueness in others as well. So it's not really about seeking attention and being an attention junkie, but really recognizing the specialness in others as well. So anyone that's listening to me that has had a close, dear friend or a partner or someone that strongly resonates with Leo, they give one of the best hugs. Leo is connected to the heart as well. So there's something about that individual heart. So the duality is there. It's like, how can I be part of the group but also not forget who I am as an individual? And again, I think I've shared this before, but I love what Brené Brown said about the difference between fitting in and belonging. And fitting in is really the opposite of belonging, because if you have to chop off parts of who you are, what you believe, or what you would say in a situation just to fit in, just to be accepted, then you're not really belonging there. Belonging is to truly being able to be who you are and be accepted and be part of a group, because your unique contribution is valued, because you're valued for who you are. So I think this full moon could be bringing some of these questions, and they could be intense as well, because this full moon isn't too far from opposing Pluto. So Pluto will be 0 degrees Aquarius, so not too far from the sun and not too far from opposing the moon as well. So these questions might be feeling very intense around this full moon, whichever situation you might find yourself in, and especially depending where this full moon is in your natal chart. Remember always to anchor whatever transit or lunation into your natal chart if you can. Where is 5 degrees Aquarius? Where is 5 degrees Leo? Because that will give you very, very valuable information about how this might come up in your life, and also clues on how to work with as well these energies. But with Pluto being so close, there might be a sense of life or death connected with these ideas, with these exchanges. There might be a lot of anger in the air as well, with Pluto being there involved, buried anger that might be coming up to the surface, and a sense of detoxing, something coming up to the light, something becoming more clear as well. There's something about fine-tuning, finding the balance between the two. It's not about being all the way to the extreme of Leo and being very selfish and you just do you and that's it and the group doesn't matter. But it's also not about going all the way to the extreme of Aquarius and being too group driven and being a nobody, losing your face, losing your signature, losing your specialness. It's really finding the balance between the two. Now, an aspect that will be very, very tight and really present as well in this full moon will be a square to Jupiter. So Jupiter will be in square to the sun and the moon. So Jupiter at 6 degrees Taurus. And whichever planet is an apex, as in a square to two planets in opposition, they usually present a potential solution to the duality, to this dichotomy, to this confrontation, to this conflict. And Jupiter in Taurus is saying, stand by your values. Be very grounded in your body, in your values. Navigate the situations generously. Remember, Jupiter at best talks about generosity and giving and being open, seeing the world from a bigger perspective. But navigate all of that being in tune and in touch with your physical sensations, with your senses, with your bodily senses. Realize if you have slept well enough, if you have eaten enough, if you're comfortable enough to have difficult conversations around that time, if that's where you're at. I always find if we can avoid difficult conversations during the full moon is better. We can use the full moon to channel, to write down, to journal, to become aware of what the revelation is, what we might need to talk about later. But if we can hold it until these emotions are a little bit less intense, that's great. Now, if you cannot wait, and it's an urgent situation that comes towards you, then use that Jupiter in Taurus to navigate. Make sure you're in touch with the feelings in your belly and what's happening with you, so you can better respond to the situation rather than react to the situation. Now, Jupiter in Taurus, really, I've said it and I will say again and again and again. Jupiter in Taurus is saying be in touch and aligned with your core values. Taurus talks about our values, what we really value. And during this full moon, Jupiter will be forming a trine to Venus. So Venus rules this Jupiter in Taurus and is in Capricorn. So again, my sense is be very serious about your values. Be aware of what your values are. Don't follow a trend because you're feeling under pressure. The Sun and Pluto in Aquarius could be peer pressure, for example. So don't follow that just because. Be in touch with your sense of groundedness, with your sense of values. What's important to you? What do you believe in? What do you really believe in? Leo is about shining your light. So the moon in opposition to Pluto could be purging, letting go of anything that's keeping your light dimmed, that's turning your, I think the feeling I have from this Sun, Pluto in Aquarius opposite moon in Leo is keeping ourselves really dimmed so we don't bother anyone else. And I feel that we can work on that during this full moon. Be brave to shine your light. And the way to do that is by being grounded. Do not let anxiety, fears, thinking, overthinking take over. Be grounded. Be grounded. Be serious about your values. Make lists about your values. It's really important to have them very, very close to your heart. Jupiter is also in sextile to Saturn. So again, Saturn is a stabilizing energy. So it could be stabilizing it. Through beliefs again, is a Saturn in Pisces. Knowing what we believe in. Knowing what our values are and what we believe in as well will be very, very important during this full moon. One more aspect that I'd like to share with you here that will be very present during this full moon as well is a conjunction between Mars and Mercury. So we might feel an urge to speak. That's Mars and Mercury. It's like when we see we already said something we didn't have enough time to think about, even though it's in Capricorn. So we have that Mercury-Mars conjunction in Capricorn and is forming a square to Chiron in Aries. So it's in square to Chiron in Aries. So we might get in touch with an old pain. The pain of not being able to be yourself. The pain of not being able to speak up. The pain of not being able to be your own individual, or the lack of courage, or feeling fearful for being yourself as well. This might be triggered. On the light side, this could be an opportunity to heal that, to see it, to integrate it, to accept it, and to move on from it as well. How can we be assertive? How can we fine-tune and balance our self-assertion? The courage to say no, the courage to separate as well. That's all within that square. How to be brave could be part of this, whatever situation we face during this full moon. By really healing our ability to assert ourselves, to be an individual, to be courageous enough. And again, because it's in Capricorn, it could be work related, it could be in a more practical realm as well. But really, the message here is stand by your values, know what your values are, know who you are. Use this full moon to step into your light. Do not fear your own light. Do not dim your light to make others feel comfortable. Be yourself. You came here to be yourself and nobody else. I think that's one of the most important messages of a full moon in Leo. So do that by being guided by your values, by your core values. And that's it. So I'm wishing you all a wonderful full moon. a beautiful full moon where you can step into the creative light that belongs to you, that's your right, and that you can make the most of it. So I wish you a great full moon, and I'll be speaking to you all soon. Bye bye, take care, you all.